welcome to Fantastic History. I'm Clay.
I'm Sarah.
We are a husband and wife duo who enjoy telling each other about amazing events and people and mysteries throughout history. And Sarah, it's been a while since I've done one of these episodes.
Okay.
I have 2 mysteries to share.
Oh, it has been a really long time since you've done one of these.
Yes, it has. And the theme they share is that they both involve bodies that show up under bizarre circumstances and with very little leads for investigators to go off of.
This is exciting.
So just a little heads up, this does involve dead people.
Yay!
So if that isn't your thing, well, it is what it is. But we're going to be talking about it.
You will be a dead people someday, so get over yourself.
It's true. We all will be. The first one, I have to warn you, Sarah, it's an unsolved mystery.
Clay.
Sometimes they just are unsolved.
Whatever.
But it's one of the most bizarre unresolved cases out there. And because it's older and occurred in another country, getting accurate details is pretty difficult.
Sure.
But I wanted to share it to see if we could sort of, maybe we could solve it ourselves right here.
No, I'm pretty sure I can solve it.
2 bodies were discovered on a hill near Rio de Janeiro in August 1966. There were no signs of foul play and no indication of a cause of death, but near each man's head was a lead eye mask.
Oh. Ew.
This is what gives this mystery its name, the lead masks case.
That makes sense, yeah.
The men were also wearing suits and raincoats because it was raining. I think the day before, the last time they were seen, it was a rainy day. They had some cash, an empty water bottle, and a small notebook. And inside the notebook, police found some very strange notes.
Oh, Lord.
Here's what it said, and it's been, adjusted a little bit for translation purposes.
Sure.
But it says something along the lines of Sunday, 1 capsule after lunch.
Oh.
Wednesday, 1 capsule at bedtime. Then the second note says, be at the place arranged at 16:30. Take capsules at 18:30. After feeling effects, protect half the face with lead masks. Await the agreed signal.
No, I don't like this.
Weird, right?
I don't like this.
So the men were identified as Manuel Pereira de Cruz, 37, and Miguel Jose Viana, 34. Both were from a town about 170 miles away from where they were found. Both were married with children, and both worked as electronics technicians. It didn't take long for police to trace their movements. They left home the morning of August 17th and were headed to Sao Paulo by bus to buy electronic equipment for their businesses.
Sure.
And it was going to be a really long trip by bus, nearly 10 hours, not including stops.
Whoa.
But the men departed the bus at 2 p.m. at Neterio. I don't think I'm going to pronounce that correctly.
Okay.
But that's kind of the tradition around here.
Sure.
Neterio. I don't know. Which is right outside of Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
So at least you know where it is. They purchased raincoats and a bottle of water. Then they were seen headed off towards this hill that they were eventually found at. A boy reported to the police that he had saw them at a high point on the hill at around 5 p.m., and apparently he was the last person to see them alive.
Weird.
2 days later, that same boy was on that hill again and smelled something putrid. And this led the police to investigate, and they found the bodies.
Sure.
Because several days had passed since the men passed, police were not able to do a toxicology report. So we don't know what was in those mysterious capsules mentioned in the note if they did indeed take them.
God.
There was no evidence of poisoning, and the official cause of death was determined to be cardiac failure.
Okay.
They also went to Manuel's home, his home workshop, and found the materials that he used to make the lead masks. which were just crudely cut out eye coverings, kind of like in the shape of sunglasses, but
Sure.
just to cover the eyes.
Weird.
So far, there are no answers and a lot of questions. But let's just cut to the chase, because unsolved mysteries always go down this path eventually, every single one of them. So let's just knock it out right now.
Mm-hmm.
How do aliens factor in?
I was thinking about aliens. Yeah, I'll be completely honest.
So according to a friend of the two men named Elcio Gomez, the three of them and other electronic specialists in the district had become part of a group of scientific spiritualists.
Huh.
Which to me sounds like a bit of a cult.
Sure.
But I really don't know a lot about it. Apparently, part of the group's activities involved experiments, and the three of them had built a device to contact aliens.
Oh.
In Manuel's garden about 2 months before their death.
Huh.
And his father confirmed this too. And the device may have worked because there were reports of UFO sightings in the area at this time. But it also might not have worked because, for one, UFO sightings were not uncommon in the 60s.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And two, the device exploded.
Oh, bother. Probably
So-
not supposed to do that.
Well, it might have been designed to.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know what the experiment was.
Yeah, that's fair.
Upon contact of aliens, detonate. That's how you know it worked.
Right.
But one woman and her children did report seeing an orange oval-shaped object hanging over the top of the hill the men were found on the night that they were last seen alive.
I'm very uncomfortable.
The light was claimed to be bouncing up and down for several minutes before disappearing. So it may have been a UFO that humped them to death.
Yeah,
I
I've
don't-
heard of those.
Don't really know.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But the most accepted theory is that the men had gone up to this hill to take drugs to induce some sort of spiritual experience. This would account for the capsules in the notes that they referred to. Perhaps they intended to take LSD to trigger some sort of telepathic experience, and somehow the drugs caused them to have heart attacks. But that's not a typical side effect of LSD.
But the lead glasses, though.
Well,
If they're planning to be up there at night, like it's already dark.
that's another part of it. Maybe the lead masks were to protect their eyes from some sort of intense phenomenon that they were expecting to experience when contacting these aliens or spirits.
Right, but I'm saying, like, as far as the drug theory is, like, oh, we're going up there to take this LSD. Well, then what do you need lead glasses for?
I don't know if the theory fully covers the idea of them having like a personal experience, or if it was to draw out an external experience.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Sure.
But whatever these capsules were, I mean, the capsules clearly said, or the notes clearly said, take the capsules and then you're going to have an experience that you would need these glasses for. Right?
This is so weird.
Maybe the capsules were, if they were indeed like LSD or acid or something, maybe they were laced with something else. Like they were homemade and something else got in there and that's why they died.
Sure.
As for why they traveled to this hill, maybe their spiritual leaders told them to go there for a specific reason. Because it was pretty far away.
Yeah, 170 miles, you said?
Yeah.
That's pretty far.
But in all honesty, we don't know why they died or why exactly they were there.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of ends the story, because that's where it ends up.
Great.
We don't know. But it's a really strange story.
Yes, it is.
Really bizarre. But this next one is quite possibly the most famous case of a body showing up and nobody knowing why they're there or how they died. But also in this case, they also had no idea who the person even was.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Somerton man,
Yes.
also known as the Tamam Shud case.
Yes.
And I wrote this down, and I knew that Sarah would be this person. But if you're a true crime nut, whether big time nut or just an amateur, you probably know it.
I'm a massive nut. What's are walnuts big? Are chestnuts big?
Chestnuts are pretty large.
Okay, so I'm a chestnut.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you'll know some of this.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's tamam shud.
Oh. Correction, it's tamam shud. I've been told by my producer. On the morning of December 1st, 1948, the body of a man was discovered on the beach of Somerton Park in Adelaide, South Australia. He was found sitting up against the seawall with his legs extended, wearing a suit and polished shoes, with a half-smoked cigarette on his right collar, which is an important little detail that we'll get to later.
Very strange little detail.
Yeah. Witnesses said that they had seen him the evening before in that location alive, but he seemed drunk.
Yeah.
Like possibly he was just a drunk passing his time on the beach, maybe gone there to sit and maybe doze off for a bit. Who knows?
Yeah.
On his person, they found an unused train ticket, an aluminum comb, some Juicy Juice gum, an Army Club cigarette pack containing assorted brands of cigarettes, and a box of matches. He was cleanly shaved, and as I said, his shoes were well polished, but notably, all of the labels on his clothes were removed, and some of them appeared to be American, which isn't too uncommon, but it's another little odd detail.
Cutting all the labels out of your clothes, this man is a spy. 100%. I'm just going to say it.
The autopsy could not conclude a definite cause of death, but did find evidence in the body consistent with poisoning. However, the toxicology test did not identify any poison in the body. Not only did they not know how he died, but they also didn't know who he was. He was not carrying identification. He didn't match any missing persons bulletins, and no one had come forward to help identify him. But it only gets weirder from here.
Yes, it does.
About a month and a half later, staff at a nearby train station discovered a brown suitcase that had been abandoned and was traced back to the Somerton man because a very unique type of orange thread was found inside the suitcase, which was also found to have been used to repair that man's pants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what makes a thread unique, but I guess there just are enough threads
Sure.
that it can be unique. I thought that was pretty funny. Inside the suitcase were some standard stuff like clothes and slippers, a shaving kit, but also some things that added to the mystery. An electrician's screwdriver, a pair of scissors with sharpened points, a table knife that had been made into a short, sharp blade, and the clothes inside also had their tags removed, but on a couple of items a couple did still have their tags, and a name was written on them. One said T. Keane, Keane, and another said Keane, Kean, and a third on a laundry bag said just Keane with an E.
Okay.
So possibly belonging to some man named Keane.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
An inquest was opened around the time of the man's... an inquest was opened around this time into the man's death, conducted by coroner Thomas Cleland. He noted that the man's shoes were so clean, it didn't fit with a drunk just wandering the city.
Certainly not.
Also, the main reactions to poisoning are convulsions and vomiting, neither of which the man had exhibited based on the condition he was found. The cigarette on his collar, for instance, would have certainly fallen if he had even the slightest convulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sitting on the sand.
Right.
You would certainly see all sorts of signs of a struggle because sand moves a lot.
Yes, it does. It
when you
gets
move
everywhere.
around. Absolutely. I hate sand. He concluded that if the body had been carried to the beach by some third party, that would explain some of these inconsistencies.
Okay, sure.
And interestingly, one witness had told police back in December that she had seen a man carrying another man wearing a suit around that area of Adelaide the evening before.
That is so weird.
Probably the weirdest piece of detail was found around the time of the inquest. A piece of paper was found sewn up and hidden in his pants. The word tamam, well, it's not a word, but tamam shud. Tamam shud was printed on it. It's a phrase found at the end of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, which is basically a book of Persian poetry. And tamam shud translates to finished or ended.
That's so weird.
It's really weird. And it was just, it gets even weirder. It was discovered that this piece of paper came out of a copy of the book that was found in a car in the city, but the car's owner seemed to have no idea how the book got there.
Mm-hmm.
When police checked the book, they also found some indentations on the back where someone had used it to bear down. They were bearing down on the book to write notes. And what was written appeared to be a code of some kind. The text consisted of 5 lines of capital letters, though the second one was shorter and crossed out. All attempts to decode it have failed.
That's so crazy.
It seems like it's... If it is a code, no one knows what it could be.
They need to give it to that older couple who cracked the Zodiac cipher in like a weekend as just like a hobby thing.
Maybe.
Those people were on it.
A phone number was also found in the back of the book belonging to a nurse in the same city named Jessica Thompson. She was interviewed but claimed to have no idea who the man was or why her number was in the book. Reports did make a big deal out of the fact that when she was shown a picture of the cast of the man's face, she recoiled.
But you would.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely convinced that it wasn't just kind of spooked as seeing a dead... It wasn't the dead body, but a dead face.
It's a death mask, and they are very eerie. They're very bizarre to look at.
Now, she was a nurse, so you think she would have a little bit more stomach for it, but who knows?
If it had been the actual dead body, that probably would have been easier on a nurse.
Maybe.
Death masks are creepy.
Now, here's the weirdest thing. Jessica did admit to police that she owned a copy of Rubaiyat during the war while she was working at a hospital in Sydney, and she gave it to a lieutenant named Alf Boxall. So police were certain that this Alf was the man, because everything led up to it, right?
And they found like a hairball in his stomach from where he'd been eating all those cats.
That's funny.
It's definitely Alf.
That's really good.
For our younger listeners, ALF stands for Alien Life Form. It was a sitcom in the 80s.
Yep, it was a sitcom starring a puppet.
Yep.
Really weird.
Yep.
So they thought, well, this Boxall guy must be the Somerton man. And that made sense until they visited Boxall and found him alive.
That'll kind of throw a wrench in things, yeah. And
even more bizarre, he had his copy of the book completely intact.
But that lady's phone number was in the other book.
Her phone number was in another copy of the book that she never owned.
That's really weird.
It's completely bizarre. So the mystery spread over the years, creating a big buzz in international true crime because of how bizarre the details of the case were and how so many details, but yet almost no confirmed facts about who the man is and how he died.
We have details, but we have no information.
And there are theories that he was a ballet dancer because of the shape of his shoes, who became an international spy and succumbed to an assassination on that beach. And these theories abounded for decades until 2022. When a new DNA analysis using hair strands from that death mask from 1949 were taken and determined that the Somerton man was in fact a man named Carl Webb. Webb was an electrical engineer from Melbourne. He married a woman named Dorothy in 1941, and she reported that he was quiet, solitary, and punctual, but also prone to violent outbursts.
Uh-oh.
He also loved poetry, especially poetry about death.
Listen, Carl, I've more sympathetic I could not be.
such as you can find in the Rubaiyat, which is as I understand it, has a lot of poetry about life, but also death.
Sure.
Sort of, the cycle.
Yeah.
Webb attempted suicide in 1946, and Dorothy left him later that same year.
Oh, that's rough.
And in 1947, Webb moved out of his home and seemed to vanish from the records and his remaining family. Until he was found. Not in 1949, but in 2022.
Sure.
So to speak. Webb was known to enjoy betting on horse races. So it's theorized that maybe the code on the back of the book wasn't really a code at all, but it was just a way of keeping track of horse names.
Yeah, that's very possible.
It's funny when you see code and you're like, oh man, this is like a secret spy code.
So complex.
It could just be some guy's doodles.
Yeah.
Or whatever. We tend to look so we tend to look so carefully at things that are just like,
Right.
Nothing. Like the removal of the tags in the clothing.
Yep.
The work of a spy or a weird guy who just didn't like the way tags felt on his skin.
True. Yeah.
I mean, I could see myself doing that.
Yeah. I've definitely cut tags out of things before.
And he had a brother-in-law that lived close to him. His name was John Keene.
Oh.
So it's thought that maybe Keene gave him some clothes at some point.
That
Seems
makes
pretty
sense.
reasonable. And Keene had traveled to the United States.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those clothes from the U.S. were not from an international spy, but just a brother-in-law who lent him some secondhand clothes.
I will say in my defense, it was common practice for the CIA during that time to cut the tags out of their clothes. Because if you were killed, they did not want your cover blown.
And imagine how embarrassing it would be to know that you bought clothes at Forever 21.
I mean, my God, you're in the CIA. Respect yourself.
So it seems the best possibility is that Webb was not a spy.
Right.
He was probably just a man with a set of peculiarities.
Sure.
Who may have chosen to end his life on that beach.
Yeah.
But there are many questions about the case that will probably never be answered. Like, what killed him?
Yeah.
And what's up with that book?
What's up with that cigarette?
What's up with what is up with that book though?
Well, okay, no, really quick, the cigarette. If you know you're about to kill yourself, you're really only smoking half of it.
Well, maybe he just didn't get to finish before he succumbed.
But I just no, because I think if it's resting on the collar, that doesn't make sense.
It just fell out.
And didn't burn a hole in the shirt?
I don't know.
To me, it's burning a hole in the clothes unless he specifically puts it out and is saving it for later. I've seen people do that. I just feel like you're not really looking deeply into how mysterious this half cigarette is. I think you're not taking this seriously, Clay.
We got to figure out the mystery of the cigarette.
Yeah, that's
sure.
my priority here.
Well, those are the two stories for today. Mysterious stories that don't really have too satisfying of endings, but they're so weird and so bizarre and creepy that I just had to mention them.
Yeah, I do think they go well together, even though we figured out who Carl is. It gives me hope for the lead glasses guys.
Well, we know who they are too. It's those...
Right, but I'm just saying that we can still get answers all these years later.
That is interesting. I mean, we've answered some questions that we never thought would be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And that is pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to hear more answers about histories and mysteries, you can continue to listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, but only if you like and subscribe and leave a 5-star review.
Required.
Because if we don't get those reviews, we know that no one's listening. And we could spend our time doing something better, like doom scrolling on TikTok.
I could be taking a nap right now.
But seriously, thank you for listening. We're going to be back next week with another fantastic yarn.
I'm not going to promise it's fantastic. It might suck.
It's going to be great.
Okay, thanks.
It's Sarah's turn.
Thank you.
Follow us on Instagram and Threads at FantasticHPod, and you can also follow us at YouTube and TikTok. We are Fantastic History Podcast, and you can email us if you still use that old-fashioned communication. We are fantastichistorypod@gmail.com. Until next week.
Bye.
Bye.